Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. So today we are going to talk about how to draw flowcharts, and we will learn how to use Microsoft Visio to do that. And I'm sure that you have used Visio in some previous classes, and I believe for the database you had to use Visio for the entity relationship diagram. But today we will learn how to do that for a flowchart in particular. First of all, why do we need flowcharts? Flowcharts are very important, especially when it comes to improving processes or improving quality and for process improvement. And why do we need flowcharts? Flowcharts helps us list all the steps or the action steps in a visual way. That way we can see what are those action steps or process steps that are required for that particular process that we are dealing with. So when we see those action steps, we will be able to identify those essential steps versus those non-essential steps. There is kind of a formal term for this. Who can tell me what would be a formal term that we use in process improvement for essential action steps versus non-essential uh, action steps? Anyone wants to volunteer? Jump in. All right. Have you heard about value added versus non-value added? So this is what we are going to do now. We will look at those essential steps, which are the value added steps, and we will see how we can maximize them. And we will look also, we'll be able to identify the non-value added steps, and we will be able to either eliminate them or minimize them. So that way we can have more efficient processes. So that's how we improve quality and processes. So another thing that is very helpful for us when we are drawing flowcharts is that we all as a team are on the same page. We all know what is the workflow. And when we are all on the same page, it will be easier for us to collaborate and go on as a team. So let's look at some of the symbols that are formally used for flowcharts. Those are some of the symbols that are commonly used. So the first symbol is called the Terminator symbol. So the Terminator symbol here is always used for the start and the end. In any process, we have a Terminator start and a Terminator end. Then we have a symbol for delay. This symbol is a hexagon, but it looks like a rectangular, but it has kind of some edges that look different. So hexagon, 6 lines. And this is representing delays. If there is a delay between some of the actions or the steps, we put this symbol. And we need also, when we draw the flowchart, we need to indicate the minimum versus the maximum minutes or hours of delay. That way, it will help us kind of to improve that process by minimizing or reducing this amount of time. And then we have a decision symbol, which is the diamond symbol. So as we know, the diamond or a decision symbol is always a binary. And remember what we mean by a binary? Who can remind us? We just talked about it the other day. So what a binary would mean? Huh?
Ones and zeros.
Ones and zeros, which basically what does it mean? So that's correct, but when we say a binary,
Yes or no.
yes or no, so it means one of two. Is that right? Binary. Remember when we say binary, unary, binary, ternary? So there are the prefix that stands for certain numbers. So binary stands for 2, and we usually have to have one of them. So When we have a decision, we have a binary decision to make. It is either yes or no, 0 or 1. In this case, in a decision, will make either yes or no. And then we have the action or the process step symbol, which is rectangle. And we will also have to have this line with an arrow to show us the sequence of those steps as well as the direction. Are we going downward or upward, rightward, and so on. And the last one is a sub-process. It is a rectangular, but it has kind of two lines on the sides. This is a sub-process. And what we mean by a sub-process here means this is a net or what we call it, a process within a process. Would that make sense? For example, if you go and see a dentist, that's a process, from the moment you check in to the moment you check out. That's a process. And there are so many steps or action steps that will take place within checking in and checking out. However, there is, after you see the MD or the dentist, I would say, then the dentist asks for an exam, particular exam for one of your teeth. So that will be a sub-process within the process of seeing a doctor. So that process will be symbolized in the main flowchart as a sub-process, as an exam sub-process, and then you will start a new flowchart starting from start to end for that exam process. Does that make sense now? What do we mean by a process and a sub-process? Everyone is clear? So let's look at one example that will help us understand those symbols and how we can utilize flowcharts and how it can help us improve processes. So flowcharts can be simple and can be complex. And flowcharts represent the workflow, and workflows are different from one clinic to another, from one institution to another, and it can be fixed or it can be changed. So let's look at this example here of seeing a doctor. When you go and you go do physicals or whatever, you go and see a doctor. So there are so many steps within for this process. Is that right? So when you go and see a doctor, the first thing you do will be what? Check in. So you go to the counter and you check in. So that's the first step. And as you can see here, we use the Terminator symbol. We can use the Terminator, or we can use this Terminator for start, and the check-in can be a process. So after you check in, what do you do? So you go to the counter. Just imagine and try to visualize how you would act when you go and see a doctor. I usually use the KU hospital to go and see a doctor, and those are the exact steps that I noticed that I go through. So I would go and go to the counter and talk to the clerk or the person there in the front desk, and then I will check in. Then they will give me some documents, all right, and they will tell you, can you fill out those documents? And then where would you fill out those documents? In the waiting room. So you go to the waiting room, which is exactly how it looks like. There's only the glass of the hospital. Has any one of you went to the KU hospitals? Visit any physician here? It's a nice one, isn't it? Yeah. So then you would go and sit there, and they have free Wi-Fi if you are still there. For me, I have free Wi-Fi. I can use it. So I would fill out the documents, and then after you fill out the documents, what would you do? So what would you do? You take them back to the So you take them back. So now we have a decision to make. So is that information gathered? So now we have a question to ask in the diamond, which is a decision. Is that information gathered? If no, then you have to go back, and they might look at the document. Oh well, there are some of the documents or the sections here will not fill any further now. You will go back to the waiting room and continue doing that paperwork or just wait. So we use the symbol for delay for waiting or for the wait room. So now, can you tell me from these two, is there one of them that is value added versus non-value added? Which one would you vote that is non-value added? Which one? So the wait room, exactly. Because waiting, you are not adding any value. You're just waiting. I'm waiting for them to have to call you or something. So now we're able essentially to identify some non-value added actions or steps. So let's continue. So if the information is gathered, then what the next step will be? Anyone can guess? So then we will gather information. So the clerk now will be gathering that information that you just gave them. So that's another step. So is this essential or or non-value added? Is it value added or non-value added? It is value added because you are, as a front desk person, you are making sure that all this information is accurate, and so that is value added. So after you mentioned, so after you the information is gathered, what is the next step? Anyone can guess? Waiting. You guessed it too earlier. So yes, you go and wait again until they call you and come in. That's what happens to all of us. So you go and wait again. Is that again? Is that a value added activity or action or not? No. So we go and wait again. After you wait, what will happen? So what is the next step? So you keep waiting and waiting to go back. So from their perspective, what would be their next step? Let's look. Is a nurse available? So from their perspective, is there a nurse available? Can to take you in, to escort you in? And then we have to see if there is a nurse available or not. So this is a decision we need to make. If the nurse is not available, now what will you do? You have to go and wait again. So that's another non-value added. If the work is efficient, should go automatically one after one with no delay, with no time wasted. So if a nurse is available, then what would happen? Before that, do they do something? Can anyone?
Vitals.
Vitals. So, yeah. So they take your weight, your blood pressure, or so on. Usually that happens in the hallway. Is that right? Sometimes they take your shoes off, sometimes not. The other day they took my weight, and it was maybe 3 pounds more than what I usually did. And they said, "Oh, that was your shoe, so we'll take off 1 pound." I said, "No, it's 3 pounds." But so that's the next step. So after you do this vitals, what is the next step would be? So let's kind of think about it. They escort you to the doctor's room or to the exam room. So let's see. Then we check if the room is available or not. Is there any room available? Sometimes it's so busy. All the rooms are occupied. Then what would you have to do if the room is not available? Exactly. Go back to the waiting room. Would you like that as a patient? Will you be satisfied? No, because it says inefficient. So then you will go back to that waiting room if the room is not available. And if it is available, then they will escort you to the exam room. And then when you are escorted to the exam room, what would happen? Okay, you wait. Or let's say the nurse is just walking with you and he or she entered with you right away. So what is the next step that would be done? So they verify some of your records, is that right? So they take you to the exam room and then you wait, which is again delay, true. And then they update your meds. They update your information. They keep always asking you, have you smoked or are you a smoker? And you already answered that in your patient portal, but they always verify that. So I told them no, but they said, you said one time you smoked. And which is true, I was an ex-smoker for 6 years, as I told you, or 7 years. But as I mentioned to you, it was formal smoking or traditional smoking. It's not non-traditional smoking. So we all know that. So they verify that information from you just in case. Maybe sometimes when we are filling out some forms, maybe our handwriting is not clear or maybe somebody put it by mistake. Sometimes people are stressed or thinking about something else and they write something else. And that happens to all of us. Sometimes I'm thinking about something and I write it and I didn't mean to write it. So that happens. So now they verify that information. And as you can see in this picture, here's something weird that you will not see nowadays. What is it? Can anyone spot it? She's using some paper. So that means this is the paper records. And nowadays, you rarely find this unless you go to some uh, clinics that are for underserved population or so on. But exactly, spot on. Nowadays, there is computer or electronic record. So after you update your meds, what would be the next step? So they update your steps. Again, I think someone has an answer. You wait again for the doctor to come. So after you wait, and then you say for the doctor. So now, the doctor available or not? Is that another decision we need to do? So now we need to make another decision while the patient is waiting, and that's another delay, non-value added. Now, is it a physician or an MD is ready or available or not? That's another decision we need to make. So if the physician is not ready, what would you do? Wait some more. And if the MD is ready, then the MD will interact with the patient. So that's the step. And now, are we done? Basically, yes, we should be done. Because we are not done yet. So you are noting, you are saying no. So what is the next step?
You do the vaccination, check up on your annual shots, after the doctor leaves, the nurse comes back there.
Okay, so that's as I mentioned, there are workflows in different clinics. So that can be one. But let's assume that everything is done. The doctor came and talked to you. You said, "Oh, you look good. You look good to me. I think we are done." So what is the next step after the doctor says we are done? What? Check out. So that's the Terminator. So I haven't seen all the Terminator movies yet, but I would love to watch some of them. They are fun. So that's a Terminator. And that's kind of basically a step. That's kind of the flow chart or the workflow that we have indicated, and we have listed all the action steps that are value added, as well as those action steps that are not, they are non-value added. Now, we need to list the minimum versus the maximum minutes that have been taken in every step that we have done. So now let's look at the times. The minimum versus the maximum. So when you first checked in and you were waiting in the waiting room, it took 2 to 10 minutes. So in the minimum 2 minutes, and a maximum, some patients, it takes them 10 minutes to wait for that to be called together first. So 2 to 10 minutes, and then the first value added step took only 1 minute. So from all of those 10 minutes, let's say, only 1 minute was needed. And then you went and waited some more at the maximum 10 minutes. And then it took them to do the weight and the vitals only 2 minutes, although the waiting was 10 minutes. And then they take you to the exam room and you waited in the exam room 20 minutes. Wouldn't that be frustrating if you don't have your phone with you? Would you? I would be bored to death. At least if I have my cell phone, I can check my Facebook, I can check my emails, I can do some stuff that kind of keep me not being bored. But imagine 20 minutes. And then from those 20 minutes, it took them only 1 minute to take the exam, or to take you to the exam. So that's another value added step. Then you go and wait some more, 20 minutes in the exam room. And to update your meds took them only 1 minute. And then you go and wait in the exam room up to 20 minutes. And doctor comes and see you and interacts with you only for 5 minutes, and that's a value added step. So now, if we calculate all of those steps, at a minimum, the non-essential or the non-value added at a minimum is 16 minutes. So you wasted 16 minutes that were just gone with the wind. And then, at a maximum, if you had the maximum delay, you might have wasted 80 minutes just waiting. Would that make you happy? No. 80 minutes, waste of time. You could have done a lot with it. So what would you have done with it? Done some of Professor Day's homework? No, right? And then the turbo interaction was only 10 minutes. So what would happen? Can they utilize and just make you go through the whole thing in 10 minutes? Is it possible? It is. Why not? It is if they are efficient to some point. But for you now, you are looking at this whole flow chart and you have identified value added versus non-value added. And you will be able now to see if there is a way that some of those action steps can go in parallel, if possible. I'm not saying it might not be possible. If possible, that would be great, because you are going to do two things at the same time to shrink that time. So that means computers or flowchart is not silver bullet that will solve the problem for us, but we need to use that critical thinking for us in order to be able to identify the steps that would help us reduce that inefficiencies. So now, are we all clear what we have? What we have so far? A flowchart, we identified the essential or the value added versus the non-value added, and we can improve the process and improve the quality for this seeing a doctor process. So now, let's use Visio. I hope that they have installed it here. I told them to do. Seems to be it's not there, but I will log into my computer. Oops. Huh. somebody, it seems to be somebody has removed my login from here, but let me see if I can log in. So can you all get your Visio, Visio file, and let's think about the process when you wake up to the moment you jump off the bed. So when you from the moment your your alarm clock or your phone rings, that way you want to wake up. So when the alarm clock rings, to the moment you jump from the bed. So what are those action steps? Can you think of them? I'll let you start kind of creating a flow chart. Yes, on Visio. And then I will get into my computer while you are kind of brainstorming on what are those steps, what is the decision, where is the delay, and so on. And then we will all do it together. All right. So now we all started Visio. Let's see how we can start Visio in a different way. So I would just go to File, and then from when you go to File, then you will need to select the appropriate flowchart one. So we have different flowchart, um, but we need the basic flowchart. So that's the one that we will select, basic flowchart, and then we will create. Now, as you can see here, you might wonder that we have a Terminator symbol, is that right? And we have a process symbol, we have a sub-process symbol, and we have also a decision symbol. But what about the delay symbol? It's not there, right? But if we want to get the delay symbol, we will need to do a little bit of search. So for that, we will need to go to more shapes. So let's all of us get this one. So we'll go to more shapes here, and then where it says flowchart, and then we will look for miscellaneous flowchart shapes. Click on that guy, and now you will see we have tons and tons of shapes. And can you see now? Can you spot the delay one? We have it there. So now you can go back and forth to the. So I can just drag one, just put it here for me, just in case I need it, and I will go back to the normal ones. Oops. So I will go back to the basic flowchart shapes. So now, as we mentioned, the first step that we will do when we wake up, what will happen? What is the first step? Let's say that we will start. Let's start our process. So I'll just say start. I'll just drag this shape, which is Terminator, and put it somewhere there. And then as soon as it is selected, I can start writing. And then enter. So I'll just select somewhere else, and it is, as you can see here, it wrote for me to start. So that's the first step, is to start using the Terminator symbol. So what is the next step? So what will happen?
Alarm goes off.
Alarm goes off. So what the symbol that I will use from here? Process. I'll drag it and drop it somewhere here. And then what I would call it? alarm goes off. So that's the next step. And then when the alarm goes off, what will happen? First you decide, you can write it yourself. Is that right? So yeah, and then if you are not, then you will go back and see. Is that right? That's perfect. So let's do that. So we need to have a decision symbol, which is the diamond shape. So decision will be here. And we will call it here. Are we ready to wake up? Or are we ready? Or so are you ready to wake up? So that's our question. Now we said if it is yes, we continue, but if it is no, then we will snooze. So if it is no, then we will go and hit the snooze button, whatever it is in the phone or alarm if you are using the old-fashioned ones. So let's use, would that be a process also? Because you need to do some action, you will need to hit that button for snoozing. So if no, we will go to the left. If yes, we'll continue going down. So let's say then here, I would hit the snooze button. And then let's say, what is the next step after you hit the snooze button? What will be?
You wait till alarm goes off.
Perfect. So you wait until the alarm goes off again. So you will need a wait symbol. So let's look for the wait symbol. Where was it? So we need to do that. So you drag it also already here somewhere? Yeah. If not, let's do that miscellaneous thing again. So I'll go to Flowchart and then miscellaneous. Yes, I did. So now let's use that delay and I'll put it here because you will go backward. And then after the delay happens, you will go and the alarm will go off too, and so on. So that will be, we will call it a loop. So we will say here delay. And if you are ready to wake up, what will be the next step? Jump off bed, is that right?
No. Check my
Will not jump. What is it? What will you do? That's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I do. And it takes, what is the minute? How many minutes does that take? And I think one of us is doing a research about it. She's doing a research about that. The time that we take after we wake up, how much time we waste. And that's a process improvement, the research that you're doing. And I think all of us are guilty of that. Maybe Professor K doesn't do that, but for us, I don't know, do you do that? She doesn't want to tell us. But for me, honestly, I do that. I'm guilty of that. The first thing I do is I do some, like my traditional kind of readings, which is maybe if you're religious, you might read something about your religion, do some prayers or so. But the next thing is check your email. That's what I do. I check my email. And then I look at my agenda for the day. What are the things that I'm going to do? And I list them. That way I can check off every step or every action. That way I can be more productive. At the end of the day, I can say, yes, I accomplished this and this and that. And then I will go to Facebook and see what is out there. I don't want to miss out what is going on in terms of news and some cute videos and funny videos and so on. And then after that, I would just check my LinkedIn. So I'm not encouraging you to do that, by the way, but I'm just telling you exactly kind of to relate it to what we are doing here with that workflow, with the Flowchart. And then when you feel like you exhausted all your phone options, then you decide to say, well, it is time to wake up now and jump off the bed. So let's do that. So what is the next step? Let's say we will assume that we don't do anything. You know, when we wake up, we just jump off the bed. How about that? Can we do that? Because that would be a sub process. That's a very good example for a sub process. So maybe we can do a sub process here. So basic. I would call it check your phone. And then this sub process would be a process by itself, as we mentioned, and then it will have a start and it will have an end. And then it will loop back to this, to the terminator for this chart. So now after you check your phone and you are done, what will be the last step? Jump. Yes, jump out of bed. So let's say jump, oops, out of bed. After you jump out of bed, that means you end. Is that right? So we end this process. And we will need to use a terminator. Now let's link them. That's an important step, is to link those steps. And we need to do some kind of formatting. We want it to look pleasant and more professional, because now it looks a mess, isn't it? It doesn't look presentable. So let's use the links or the connector here. So you will see the connector on the top. Let's connect the start to the next step. And we'll do this. So I will let you do the sub process by yourself somewhere else. Maybe you can just do it here, start to end, and then after or before the last step, before you end, you just end with this one. So this last end will be for both. For that step, um, so let's connect this, and then we will think about that sub process. So let's see here. So we said if yes, you check your phone. If no, then you go and hit the snooze button. Delay. From delay to alarm goes off again. So we call this here loop. Now we have connected all the symbols. Now remember when we said the decision, there is a yes or no. We didn't put it there yet. Let's put it. It's very important that we put the yes and no for decisions. So we said in this here, in this area, what should we put, a yes or no? Is it, are you ready to wake up? No, so it will be no. So to put the no, we will double click on this line. So let's double click on this line and say no. Just type no. And then we say yes, double click on the line where it is supposed to be yes, and then we will put yes. Now, it seems to be we are almost done, except for this one I need to put here ender. So it looks complete functionally, but let's make some aesthetics cleanup, make it look more pleasant. So what I usually do, just kind of to save time, instead of doing the correction for everyone, I would just select all of those guys. I will select all of them, or Control A. I believe that would also select all of them, Control A. Now they are all selected, and let's let's start with the fill one, where it says fill under shape and style. What do I want to fill it in with? White would be nice, isn't it? So the fill, let's put white. Don't worry if the writing is done, because the font for the letters is white, so that's fine. So let's select the white. And now let's select for the lines, we want it to be black. Now let's go back to this area where it says fonts. We will select black. Now it is nice, but I can barely see it. Can we enlarge it a little bit, the letters? Let's do that. Use this guy here, the A, small a and capital A. Let's use the capital A, to see how much we can increase those. Does this sound kind of reasonable? Maybe 3 hits, 2 to 3 hits. So now, does it look kind of professional now? Looks nice and beautiful. Can we present this to some executives in the hospital? So that was all that I wanted to cover today. So do you have any questions for me?
Do you want to do this on your own without it?
Perfect. So if you still needed help, you can always go back and listen to the recording just in case you missed one of the steps, but it seems to be you all got it. All right. All right. So if I took more than what you're planning.
We're good. We're good. We make it work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.